This recording might appear to be very odd, very strange, but I'm getting a little bit fed up with myself, and having to have so serious recordings all the time. Integrity is the thing I need to talk about in relation to development and the potential problems with that one. That's not integrous when we hold on to lies, even the lies that we told, created, either because of fear, either because of our inadequacy, not having the right skills, not having the information, not having the scope, not having the knowledge formed yet, regardless of our age, and we stick to it because we think that we will be judged as being inconsistent, incongruent, not having a spine, not having integrity, not having dignity. Then we cause a lot more problem down the line than we could have done if. Why this is important to talk about is that because of the situation I am in right now and people around me are in right now. What is integrous, however, is to accept and respect time. When I say accept, I don't mean take everything blindly. What research, science, others, or even ourselves say or experience about time, change, development. No. Do keep your critique of information, let that be coming from inside or from outside. Do keep it on. Do not drop that thing. But have enough, i.e., be in the state of enoughness, be in the state of harmonious equilibrium. So have enough to be able to make a mistake, make an error. However, do remember always that at this point in time we've got only one life. And of course we have the capacity to destroy our lives out of mistake, misbelief, misunderstanding, miscommunicating forever. We can lose our gravity, we can lose our presence, and that's nothing else, just mere existence, which is the most excruciating, most paralyzing pain that is unheard, unseen, unspoken, not researched. People once followed, when something gets into the public domain, talked about research, particularly in the Anglo-Saxon culture. That is usually happening by the time, whilst there is something so protrudingly obvious we don't talk about it, that it's no longer possible to just step over it and pretend it doesn't exist. Whereas in Hungarian or Central European culture, German, part of the German culture I would say, it's much more like people start to recognize and realize patterns and talk about it. So one of them are retrospective inherently and the other one is prospective. It's not about one is better than the other or one is more useful than the other. They just exist. However, I've got an observation which I try to make a shorter video about on the role, on the impact of education, how we approach the uncertain, the unknown, the unusual, the ill, the different. Because I believe that heavily dependent on seems to be to me the case. I don't speak English, I pretend I used to say that, and I say that again. So it's what seems to be depending on is what is the philosophical framework, what is the mind frame through which educational system approaches those questions, the unknown, the uncertain, the unusual, the unorthodox, the ill, and what those boundaries are, where those limits are. There is a big difference between limits and boundaries. Limits are always coming from inside. Let that be an organization, let that be people, individuals. They always come from inside. No one ever should be made to push their own limits. If they do it because something intrinsic, something authentic, something that comes from inside of us, inside of them, inside of a person, as opposed to in order to achieve something, which is always an extrinsic motivator. Okay, so if it's coming from intrinsically, that's fine. But nobody ever should or could really, in my books, push the limits of others simply for the reason because nobody can have the same experience of life compared to another person. There could be similarities that connects us. That's about brotherhood. That's about belonging. That's about culture. That's about family, even. But that's not quite the same. Not exactly the same. Even Siamese twins that are grown together cannot have the same life experience because although they are grown together, but they're slightly in different positions, slightly in different places, from slightly different angles they can see things. And more often than not, particularly when there's a paradigm shift, when there is the age of post-truth, those angles, those little trivial differences, in the end, can and potentially do mean major difference in interpretation. And that also takes me to something, just because I have an intention to do something or behave in a certain way or come across a certain way that is congruent, consistent, integrous with me, that does not necessarily mean I always be, I always will be in the position of to actually define the meaning of all my acts, even by reflection in the past. More often than not these days, the meaning of individual choices made, particularly by others, tends to be created by people who have no way of knowing. And at times they do this without, out of ignorance, without actually recognizing what they do, but sometimes they have to do it to resolve a situation, although that does not lead to resolution. And many of them, for instance, members of the judiciary here in the UK, do know this is an excessive pain for them. Teachers, senior nurses also do experience this shit, if I can use that word, and you may excuse my bad language here. This is a short message for today from the British Library Members Room on 21st of November 2023. Have a lovely afternoon, and I think segregating or separating my channel into various streams will come up in a subsequent short video. Most importantly, because I'm talking about these serious things, because things in life are now serious, it's time to work. However, I just need my sense of humor back and good laughter. So I think I'm going to be changing my strategy, my approach, my way of finding the neutral vocabulary slightly. Have a lovely afternoon.